Yeah, I want to throw this both at you because I'd love to get your perspective, Mark, if you want to go first on this one, because I just don't hear the Bears connected to Paris Johnson.
Mhm.
Do you, am I mishearing? Am I not reading the right things, or is he not an option for them at 9? And also, Corey, I want you to weigh in too as well from a player perspective. Why isn't Paris Johnson maybe a possible fit with the Chicago Bears right now?
I think a couple of things. Like, if he's not a fit, and we still don't know. I mean, they still might take him, but if he's not a fit, I think it's experience. I mean, he's only played 13 games at left tackle. Another
Mm.
thing too is that he did get a lot of help at left tackle at Ohio State, which is understandable. So you have to look at that, and you have to take that into account with Paris Johnson Jr. That while he might have the most high end talent out of that entire group, I mean, the Bears want to develop an offensive lineman because I think in part that's what they would be doing with Paris Johnson Jr. And you look at a guy like Peter Skoronsky, and there's been all the fuss over the arm size and all of that and where he would be. He's played 4 years at left tackle in the Big Ten at Northwestern. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So I, that would be my guess as to why maybe you're not hearing the linkage as much to Paris Johnson Jr. or they've fallen in love with Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright, or one of these other guys that are in the draft that we don't talk about as much.
Yeah, Joey, I think, in my opinion, Peter Skoronski is day one ready. I mean, he's, like you said, he's played 4 years. He's the most technically sound offensive lineman coming out. He has the strength, the bend. You look at 2 years ago when he played against Aiden Hutchinson, who was arguably the best defensive lineman rookie to play last year, right? Completely locked him down. So the arm length, I take that with a grain of salt sometimes. I played against tackles that's arm length weren't the greatest, but they were really good offensive tackles. And I think Skoronski is going to be a great player. And I don't really like the comparisons of moving him to inside or anything like that. I think he's a tackle, and I think he could play a long time in this league. I think he has what it takes. But yet and again, like, teams get too bent out of shape about arm length and what your 40 is. You can play football or you can't. The tape does not lie, right? Everybody's seen Skoronski's tape. His tape is there. So in my opinion, I think he's the best guy coming out. But the Bears, they put such an emphasis when it comes to arm length. That's why I'm kind of weary if they're going to draft him or not.
Corey, real quick, so who's in your power rankings right now? Skoronski, I feel like, is number one. Who's your number two, number three, number four? Is it Broderick Jones? Where does Paris Johnson fit on your power rankings for offensive linemen right now?
Yeah, I agree with what Mark said about his ceiling being the highest, right? His athleticism is unreal. I mean, he's probably the most athletic tackle in this draft. So the ceiling is potentially there. But in my opinion, right, you want a guy that's going to be able to play day one, ready to go, right? And I think Peter Skoronski is that guy. I think Broderick Jones is that guy, especially to play potentially the right side if you feel good about Braxton Jones. And that makes me feel like earlier in free agency when they were trying to go after McGlinchey at right tackle, that made me feel like, okay, they feel pretty comfortable with Braxton Jones at the left side. So that's what makes me think that, oh, okay, maybe Broderick Jones could be a favorite because he could really play that right side as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. But Paris Johnson would be my third tackle. I would have Skoronski, Broderick Jones, and then Paris Johnson at that point.
Yeah, that's a great point, Corey, because as we saw with, Ogunjobi the year previous, when they try and target these guys in free agency, and in both particular cases, it doesn't work out for the Chicago Bears, you can tell maybe that's going to be a priority heading into the draft.